Hi, welcome to a special episode of Silver Crow podcasting, I guess.
Yeah, this is probably not going to be a regular series.
No, this is just, we're in the same place.
Yeah, I can punch him, listen.
Ooh, that's sexy Foley work.
Okay, I'm just gonna vault out the window. Goodbye.
She says, pointing at her closet.
I mean, everyone's meant to come out the closet eventually.
True. But as I'm currently on holiday from my work, and I'm travelling around the southwest of England,
This is not England.
I decided that I'd also stop off in Wales.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
And see the lovely Caitlin, host of Untitled Gaming Podcast, and regular guest and co-host on Honor Roll, as well as one of our regular streamers. Caitlin is also kind of our chief editor.
Because everyone else has lives and I don't.
And what are we doing a podcast on again?
Apparently it's on writing, because people read things.
I don't think people want to hear about that. So, yeah, writing.
People had questions. Because Benjy here is the DM of the Silver Crow and the Outside Fanstra stuff. So he writes a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just a nerd who does it because... and doesn't let anyone read it because... Actually, no, a lot of people read mine because I post half of mine.
Isn't like 80% of it fan fiction?
It used to be. I haven't written fanfiction in months.
I know you like officially announced.
Yeah, I officially retired from fanfiction like 2 weeks ago.
That's fair.
Because I was on writer's block for ages, and then people were messaging me like, "Oh, when's this bit coming? Or when's this bit coming?" And I went to go write it, and I'm just like, I don't like this anymore. It doesn't inspire me anymore. Like, I still like the thing it's based off of, but like, you're just there like, nah.
That's fair. And I mean, I think that like kind of leads us straight into one of our kind of topics that people suggested, which is
Segue.
writer's block, I guess.
Writer's block is evil. It's just horrible.
I think it's always deceptive because you start to just feel like you have no faith in the project anymore, and even if you're like super into the project, your writer's block just manifests as you don't have the heart to continue this.
Yeah, it's like I recently wrote out the plot for like a novel I'm writing at the moment. And the thing is, I've done that before, and then I've gotten like 10 chapters in, and then life's gotten in the way. Like, I think my A-levels got in the way or something. I don't know. It was probably education. It's normally education. Freaking education. And then I came back to it, and I was like, oh, this is terrible. And it wasn't. It was good. But you come back to it, and you've hit a wall. And you're just like, what am I doing?
Yeah, and I know, because I think it was C on the Fanstra Discord who asked about writer's block.
Yeah, how to get past it.
I wish I could give an answer to that.
Writer's block is individual to every writer.
Yeah.
It's because some people have things where they can't write a particular scene, but they can write other things. It's whether your writer's block is specific to whatever thing you're working on at the time, or whether it's just the idea of writing makes your brain turn off. Kind of if it's just a one element thing or a one story thing, go do something completely different. Like, I've written a whole bunch of weird short stories just because of writer's block on whatever big thing I was working on at the moment, and then I could go back and I could be more level-headed about it. Whilst bigger writer's block, where it's just kind of writing is sinful in your mind, it's hard to get past, and sometimes it can last forever. But as long as you're still doing something relatively creative, your brain can kind of stew in the background.
Yeah.
Like, I've written the chapter synopsises for like 8 chapters in one go before, after about 2 months of writer's block of everything. So I just kind of went, okay, clearly something has been happening, whilst I've just been kind of swimming along going, I want to do some writing, but nothing works.
Yeah.
That's what I sound like.
Yeah, no, I think just with writer's block, it's not just unique to everyone. The solution will be unique to everyone as well. So sometimes just going away and not writing for a long time and coming back is one way of dealing with it. 'Cause there's always that saying that when you finish your novel, you put it in a desk drawer and you don't touch it for 2 months.
Yeah.
And then you come back to it and you reread it. You reread the draft you put away.
And then you cringe. And then you want to throw it out the window and set fire to the desk. No?
But yeah, I've always struggled with writer's block, and I'm not sure where mine really stems from, because I do like writing kind of novels and longer pieces of fiction. And I always either end up abandoning the project or I just don't go back to the project. For me, I think a little bit of my writer's block stems from a lack of self-confidence. Like, I think I get into this novel and then it's just kind of, you're a shit writer, stop writing, why are you bothering to do this, no one's going to enjoy it.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of that I could fight with. The one benefit with working in fanfiction was that you had an audience who, even if you put something out that you thought was horrible, I did a piece within a day because I hadn't uploaded in 2 months and I just needed to put something out. Did it within a day, barely read it, barely edited it, and it's one of the best pieces I've written because it was just more raw, and people liked that, and it meant I could get feedback on things that needed improvement, like my speech back in the day was horrible. People conversing were like friggin' demented Toy Story characters. Yes, that's how I describe it. But you can get feedback there, but then there's also the danger of falling into for me, I fell into a category of I loved original writing. It's something I've done since I could write, and it was fanfiction very much became more of who I was, and people wouldn't give my other stuff a chance because it was so drastically different. You go from weird romance niche plots to long overarching magic betrayal, and they're like, what? And I'm appreciate my work.
And there's always but it's not the thing I've got to know you for doing as well.
Yeah, with writing you need to be careful not to back yourself into a corner. If you suddenly change genres, I'm mainly a fantasy or sci-fi writer. But if I suddenly changed genre and wanted to write romance, or if I wanted to write, werewolf stories, don't even know. I need to be able to just kind of jump to it, rather than, with the online pressure of staying in your little bubble and not changing. A lot of YouTube creators have that, where they, especially gaming YouTubers, where they start with only one game.
Yeah.
And when they try to branch away from that, the negative backlash is there. I think that would also be your voice as well. Kind of going, why are you changing? You were at least decent at what you did before.
Yeah, I think it's that fear of the unknown sort of thing. It's but we were good at this. Why would we change? Why would we go to something that we don't know will succeed?
Yeah.
When we've been doing something that will succeed.
Yeah. Someone also asked about how to link plot points.
That's a tough one.
Mr. Campaign writer.
To be honest, when it comes to writing a campaign, it is like writing a flowing story, but you just don't know what the protagonists are going to do.
We're going to sacrifice people that smell like chicken.
So I always find you write a series of events and then you plan for those events to go awry.
Yeah. And
I think linking plot points is, sometimes it just needs to be a journey. So the big kind of D&D cliche is the characters are going on a journey, going from town to town, and there's a reason why they have to go to the next place, even if the reason is it's just the next geographical location.
Yeah.
And so, but I think the important thing is there needs to be a coherent reason why why one plot point follows the other plot point.
Yeah.
So, if in a fantasy novel, an encounter with goblins follows like a meeting at a town? Is it just because the goblins are geographically after the town, or is it a deeper reason? Because it's fine just to have a geographical thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite work as well in fiction, with kind of the exception of Lord of the Rings, which is very much the only reason we're having these plot points is because they are literally on our path to our goal.
Yeah.
But, I think you've got to just ask yourself, why is this plot point following this one?
Yeah.
So, are we encountering these bad guys because we've been told about them and are specifically detouring to meet them? Have they heard about us and they're coming to meet us? Or is it just a chance? Is it just happenstance that they're coming to see us?
Yeah. I mean, if you're going for a more not quite... Because, with some storylines you can have that people always complain about how what's coming next is very obvious.
Mm.
And if you're looking to go for something that isn't quite as predictable, there's a lot of safety in predictability because people like that, and it's easier to write. At least personally, I find it harder to write surprising things, but it's also a lot more rewarding. If you're going to link your plot points, you need to have... Really, you need to plan out the path.
Yeah.
If the difference between writing a novel and running a campaign is you have way more control over what your character's doing. You have ultimate control. But the problem with that is you need to make sure you don't take them out of character in order to link your plot points.
Yeah.
Because, I've made about 6 or 7 characters for the book I'm writing. And the reason, I've written the whole thing from beginning to end. Not the whole novel, because that's 100,000 words, and I do not have that much spare time in my life. But I've written out the whole chapter synopsi. Is that the plural? I don't know.
Who cares?
I need to write a book. No, but I've written it all out, and I have reasons of why people are where they are, and it has to make sense. And it's kind of, if you as the writer read an idea or read what the next plot point is going to be. Say you've gone from the main city out to a farm, but then you have a character who wouldn't leave the city, maybe he has a little brother to protect or something there. Why has he come with you? If it doesn't make sense to you, then that plot point shouldn't work.
And I think the important thing is you have to question yourself all the time.
Yeah.
You can't just write a bunch of plot points and then come back to them and go, wait, these don't make sense.
Yeah.
Every time you're about to start a new thing, and I always find the best way to start off by doing it is when you do your very, very rough preliminary draft. Every new plot point should be its own chapter.
Yeah.
Just so you have these almost self-enclosed story points that just happen to link up.
Yeah.
But you got to question yourself, I think. It's just, why is this happening? Why is this happening now in the story? Does it make sense for it to be happening at all? How can I make it better? How can I link it to... I think you always have to remember, how can I link it to what's come before, and how does it link to what comes after? Yeah,
which is why the access to this question was, how do you do filler? And the main thing with that is, you can have all these amazing plot points built out, but there's no point rushing through them, because if in one of the books I've written, one of my characters gets imprisoned, and obviously it's not a nice experience, and later on that has repercussions for her as a person, and it's, instead of rushing to the next plot point, which was something to do with telekinesis or something, you had to work through that. And the whole point of filler, especially if you're doing a book with more than one character, more than one main lead, or if you're trying to do a group of people like the one I'm writing at the moment, yes, you'll have the person you're focusing on, but you need to build those relationships. Some of them can be pre-established, like siblings and things, but you can't just expect the audience to think up the relationships for you and the reactions and everything for you. Your job is to lead them. Your job is to lead them rather than... you're the one writing the book. As much as they have to put some imagination into it too, with, creating things, they can't just do the whole plot for you.
And I think, because I can't remember which author said it, but it's that old adage of, if you can't justify why something's in the book, it shouldn't be in the book.
I don't remember that.
It
makes sense.
Yeah, it's this real famous quote. It's like, if you can't reason why something's in your book, it shouldn't be in your book.
Yeah.
And I think that comes really into the plot points and fillers is, yeah, filler is great and it does build your world, it builds the characters up. But if you can't justify why that filler is there, why you're telling the audience this, then you're just writing for the sake of writing at that point.
Yeah.
So like, if a character has this really unique tattoo on the inside of their forearm, sure, that could just be a physical detail, but you shouldn't just leave it as a physical detail. If you're specifically pointing out that they have a tattoo on the inside of their arm that's super unique, you can't just be like, and that's because I needed to distinguish all the white people in my book. It's like, does that convey something about their personality? Is it tied to their backstory that you reveal later? Is it tied to the plot itself? But if it's just they have a cool tattoo, then we don't need to hear about the cool tattoo.
Yeah, if you're spending more than one sentence describing something, then it's going to be important.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a tree, then.
But even then, if you're going into super detail about a tree, then you're probably doing it for a reason about.
Yeah, it might be like your character's using it to bounce thoughts off or something.
Yeah, or...
But if you're just standing by a river and there's a conversation going on and they are actively involved, don't describe every bloody tree.
Yeah, and don't spend a paragraph describing the river when you could have spent that paragraph doing the dialogue.
Yeah.
And I think at this point as well, it's like, don't indulge in fan service, I'd say.
Yeah.
So what I find is a lot of people write because they're imagining what that scene would look like in a movie of the book they're writing.
Yeah.
Or they're imagining, oh, if I include this detail, that's going to make really good fan art. Or, oh, this is fan fiction, so I'm going to make this really, really specific nod that doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah.
Don't do any of those.
Yeah.
Because it's annoying.
Yeah.
Well, because remember, your book has the potential not just to be read by hardcore people who, like, hardcore fans of the fandom you're in.
Yeah.
And there's potential for it not just to be read by your friends as well. So sure, you may have some really cool art friends who are going to fan art the hell out of your book. But if you're including details just because they'd be good fan art, then stop writing the book because all you just want to do is have someone draw a cool character you have in mind.
Remember, 50 Shades of Grey started as fanfiction.
Yeah, exactly.
And now there's a third movie coming out.
Exactly, and...
Kill me.
That really tight because, not gonna lie, I've read all three of the books.
Wow, you perv.
And... I've not read Twilight. I've read those, but I've not read Twilight.
Kinky.
But they really tie into the fan service thing because I've not even picked up a Twilight book, and I can tell which scenes are like directly ripped from the source material, but with new characters.
Yeah. Just
so that people who have read both books will go, oh, that's the bit in Twilight when this happens, but I see what she's done here in 50 Shades. And yeah, so just to reiterate, don't write your novel or your short stories by imagining what it would look like on a big screen or what it would look like in the hands of an artist. And more specifically towards fan fiction, don't just include fan service for the sake of fan service.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's just if you're, especially with fan fiction, you still gotta you're still adding something to this to the universe of the fandom.
Yeah, if you do fan service, then your book will be basically the same as every other one.
Yeah.
The whole point is if you write your style, it will be unique, but if you try and wedge in as many references and things as you can, it will literally just fall into a crowd.
Yeah.
How to deal with losing the zone. I think what they mean by this is sometimes I get this a lot. I could write for like 4 hours straight.
Yeah.
And then I'd spend the rest of the week going, like, not really being able to do more than 10-minute sprints.
It's like literal writer's block.
It's writer's block, but it's kind of, you manage to open the door, about to walk through the door for a while, and then it punched you in the face.
Yeah.
That's never happened to me. Have you been punched by a door?
Many times.
What did you say? Did you call it fat?
But yeah, no, I think it is difficult when you lose kind of. I think how it was originally described was losing your writer's mojo.
Yeah, my mojo.
Yeah, and sometimes I think the best way to deal with it is just to take a break from writing.
What I take with mojo is I tend to if I'm having like a really long session and you need to go do something else, like say you haven't eaten yet or you have, I don't know, social life or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. But write down in bullet points as many, like all the ideas you have on your mind at that moment.
Yeah.
Because those are all things relevant to both the bit you're writing, the bits you could be writing later. And honestly, that's a great kickstart to see all these ideas for what could happen, because even if you're not in that writing mood, you know the book better than anyone else in the world. And part of you can look at those ideas and go, okay, no, that's bad, that's a maybe. And even if just working through eliminating the ideas, it still means you're doing something productive towards getting your mojo back.
Yeah.
Mojo.
Yeah, and again, I think it's just down to how you're best going to respond, because sometimes it is worth just taking a break from writing, because losing a mojo can be like an indicator that you've been pushing yourself too hard in writing.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of the time losing a mojo is just writer's burnout.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's just finding how you best get back into writing from it.
Yeah.
Rather than two people telling you this is how you get back into.
Yeah.
This is how you reclaim your writer's mojo.
This is how you reclaim your destiny.
Well,
the last question was how to show the audience something.
Oh,
instead of telling them
how to show, not tell.
I've done a lot of this because a couple of the things I've written have had like prophecies and things in them. And the whole way to fulfill the lines of the prophecy is to give hints.
Yeah.
And it's very much, if you want to show the audience something, you need to figure out when the reveal is.
Yeah.
And then you need to work backwards from there and give hints. The whole point is you sprinkle it throughout. It's like, I wrote something for the My Night series on YouTube. In the fanfiction times. 3,000 years ago. Well, it feels like it. But I wrote a prophecy, and then it was in like the 4th chapter out of like 25 that this prophecy was revealed. And then at the very end, once I'd finished the book, I wrote a whole chapter explaining where each line of the prophecy had been fulfilled or mentioned. And it's very much, as soon as I did my prophecy, every chapter I wrote, I was like, first of all, is it relevant for me to slip something in about it here? And secondly, how can I do it without just kind of going, woo, prophecy, woo? So it's like, if you've got a threat affecting your region, and the only cure is some potential magic that people are mentioning casually all the time.
Yeah.
You need to find a balance between just going, hey, this is the solution. Something's just ever present, but no one realizes. Yeah. It's a bit like that crap. It's a bit like having like a speck on your computer screen.
Yeah.
You don't notice it for ages, but it's always there.
Yeah. And I hate to say it, but I think the other way to show, not tell, is just to get good at writing.
Get good, boy.
Well, but seriously, it's like
I know what you mean.
Because the kind of general more show, don't tell is just your style of writing, so don't just tell the audience how the world is. And I think it's just get used to being descriptive. So instead of saying, you know, Ben and Caitlin headed towards the foreboding woods, it's like, great, so the woods are foreboding, thanks for telling me that. No, it's more along the lines of, you know, Ben and Caitlin entered the woods. The further from the sunlight they got, the closer the trees came together, the more gnarled the branches were, reaching out onto the path. Like,
do you have something for woods?
Well, you know, I always find it's that woods are shitly described, because it's everyone wants to have these creepy woods, but it's always just ends up being the woods were really creepy and everyone was slightly unnerved by them.
It's a tree. Fear the tree.
But yeah, so it's just be descriptive. So I know because I know the human brain loves to cut corners when it can.
Yeah.
So I know the temptation. I know the temptation is to just be the woods were foreboding, woods were creepy, the building was imposing. But you just got to get.
Benjy was grumpy.
Yeah, you got to get into the habit of just writing a better scene.
Yeah.
Than just straight up telling me how it is.
The main recommendation with that is just if you want to show them something instead of tell it, write it how you think it should be written. Go carry on with whatever you were doing. Come back and read it and go, how quickly do you understand what's going on? Like, if you instantly know that the woods are creepy or that someone's angry, you aren't doing it right. Rewrite it.
Yeah.
Unless you're deliberately... Unless you have, like, a really blunt character who's just always direct. Rewrite it.
Yeah. And, to be honest...
Just rewrite everything.
Yeah, well, and to be honest, even if your characters are blunt, your omniscient narrator shouldn't be.
Yeah, your omniscient narrator should be
if you're writing in third person, I shouldn't be being told how it is straight off the bat, unless that's your gimmick. But even then, firstly, let's just put it out there, the gimmick of the third-person narrator being a first-person narrator played out so much, please don't do that. And unless you are just masterful at writing, I'm going to tell you now, by at least halfway through your book, I'm going to hate the narrator because you're literally Mary suing a book. I honestly can't think of a time where like there's been the sassy kind of know-it-all narrator. I guess maybe
Stanley Parable
or A Series of Unfortunate Events.
Yeah, the first few books, Series of Unfortunate Events.
Yeah, like the ones where he kind of really has that as his gimmick of him being the narrator.
He just doesn't care.
And yeah, so I think that actually ties in, because I think we should just kind of do any other things that come to mind. Don't steal someone else's gimmick. Like, if you see a really good gimmick for a book, don't just go use that gimmick, especially if you're looking to get published. Like, it's okay to kind of take ideas from people. It's okay to be inspired by stuff. But if your idea for a book is, I saw this really cool approach, gimmick, hook in a book.
Yeah.
So my idea is going to be, I'm going to use that for me.
Yeah, films do that a lot, and TV shows. Like, the way they do cliffhangers and things nowadays are all the same, and you're like, you're not original anymore. We can all see it coming.
Yeah, and I think Dark Souls clones.
Oh, yeah. So amusingly, some of the games they call Dark Souls clones were in production before Dark Souls came out, and you're like, eh.
But I think that's a case of just industry secrets.
Yeah, it's just industry.
But yeah, I'd say make your work original, because no one's ever going to write.
You're never original.
Yeah,
because you're influenced by everything around you.
Yeah, I think at 2018 we're never really going to see super original books. Like once in a generation they'll come by.
Yeah.
But
Terry Pratchett will be reborn.
Yeah, but a book will always remind you of something else.
Yeah.
But that's just writing. That's just life. But if I pick up your book and I say, hang on, this is the same premise or gimmick that such and such used.
Yeah, the amount of 1984 clones.
Yeah,
there
the
are in
1984
books. And I'm
clones.
like, oh, come
I
on,
think-
it's dystopian futures is such a wide market.
Yeah. And
I get it, technology's evil, but come on.
And I think the problem with 1984 clones is, okay, but George Orwell wrote that in 1948.
Yeah.
As a view of the escalation of the USSR conflict.
Yeah.
We're just writing them now because Trump is bad.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing that I'll come on to very briefly in a moment. But yeah, don't don't be a clone of someone else, especially when it comes down to a unique gimmick. Because like when one book comes out and it's all its chapters are reverse, so the last chapter is the first chapter, and then like within a year you get a bunch of other books whose last chapter is their first chapter and stuff.
Yeah, main thing I'd say is everyone does some form of writing, whether it's for Dungeons and Dragons, whether it's for themselves, whether it's for some goofy thing they're doing at the time. It's talk to other writers.
Yeah.
Like, don't steal their ideas, obviously, but it's kind of the idea of someone taking interest in your work and how you do it. Like, the fact people asked questions for this it means a lot to a writer.
Yeah.
And they will be happy to give you advice. Like, don't pester them every second of the day, because then you'll never get anything written.
Yeah.
But it's like, take advantage of the resources around you. Because like, you can learn a new language, but it's so much harder when you're on your own.
Yeah.
It's the same with writing. It's a lot harder when you don't make use of the communities. Like, I can think of about 5 different online communities off the top of my head. Join one. Even if you're just reading to begin with.
Yeah.
Join one.
Yeah.
Get in discussion boards. Talk.
Yeah.
What did you want to touch on?
Yeah. If your idea is, I'm going to do a super hot take on contemporary society, that's going to be my novel, please don't. Unless you have a truly... Because I saw this Politico article, it's like, because it's like F. Scott Fitzgerald, captured the dystopia of... The urban dystopia of 1920s America in The Great Gatsby. Is there going to be is Trump going to inspire the next great American novel?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, unless you have a genuinely hot take or a genuinely good idea about how to portray contemporary society in a novel, all you're going to do is just write a novel no one's going to read because it hits too close to home.
I wouldn't say don't write it. Just don't write it with the aim to publish it.
Yeah, that because it could be
writing is a personal experience.
Yeah, I think that's a much better way of putting it. Don't try to write the next great American novel about the Trump administration. But if it's your way of coping with the shitty world we're in, go right ahead. Don't commercially write a book about 2018, 2017 society, because everyone is doing that. And I will say I did read one that was quite interesting. It's called To Kill the President, and they never name him, but it's obviously like a Trump president.
Yeah, we're going to be on the watch list in a minute.
It's about a Trump president and his troubleshooter, like the woman who covers up all his scandals.
Oh yeah.
Finds out that like 2 members of his senior staff are plotting to kill him, and she has to wrestle with, is it better for me to stop this because it's against the law, or is it better for the country for me to let this go ahead? And it was it's like, what is acceptable in a world where kind of acceptability is being rewritten? But unless you do have, I say commercially, unless you do have a unique hot take, then don't do it commercially. But
basically, avoid political writing, really, if you want to learn how to write properly.
Yeah.
Because political writing is very much a cross between fiction and non-fiction.
Yeah.
And you need to develop each skill individually before you can try and write anything that combines both of them.
Yeah.
Because non-fiction and fiction are both very hard to write in their own ways. And if you can't master one, then there's no way you're going to master the other, and there's no way you're going to make a decent thing that's compared.
Yeah. And I think, finally, when researching for a book...
Careful what you Google.
Well, careful what you Google, and also, you're not going to write a fantastic book on Wikipedia alone.
You're not. I've done some very weird research into minerals and things.
Yeah.
just for like a paragraph.
But you can't just rely on Wikipedia to give you all the information, because the big thing about Wikipedia is it's all secondary sources. It's literally a website of secondary sources. And so if you're writing a novel about the transgender experience if you're writing a book about being a transgender teen in North Carolina, firstly, if you're not a transgender teen in North Carolina, I'd probably go write another book.
Unless like you are literally sat with someone unless you're writing for them.
Yeah, sorry, but that was going to be my thing is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't just rely on Wikipedia to tell you about the bathroom bill. You're going to have to talk to people who are going through that, because at the end of the day, if you're writing about human experiences and you choose not to interact with any of the people who have experienced that, then your book is going to be
offensive.
It's not even necessarily offensive. It's just not going to capture the human experience you're seeking to capture.
Yeah, it'll probably have misinformation, and that's not what you want, especially if you're trying to write about sensitive issues.
Yeah.
There's a cheerful note to end on. Write things.
Yeah, I'd say just keep writing, even if it's just like a sentence or, just like a paragraph a day. Even if you write for a year and all 365 paragraphs you write are for 365 different projects, that's still writing. You're still doing something.
Yeah. Go for it. Make characters that you never use. Make universes that don't quite work out. The whole point of it is to develop as a writer and as a person. It's like, if you're in a bad mood and you have a writing idea, go for it, because sometimes it's a good venting process, and sometimes it's interesting to see what tone of something you come out with.
Yeah.
Like, I've gone in very angry, and some of my best pieces have come out because of raw emotion.
Yeah.
Like, not just angry, sometimes I've just been in a really good bloody mood, and I've written something, and it's... When you're in touch with both yourself and the characters you're trying to write as, it's a lot easier.
Definitely.
You need to understand them, and you need to understand yourself.
Yeah.
There's a deep metaphor for you.
Yeah, and so I'd say, if you've got any questions about writing, because Caitlin and I have both been writing for years.
I've been writing on my own since I was 10. Not school projects since I was 10.
I'd say between us we have probably about 2 decades.
Yeah, we have about 2 decades experience.
Writing experience. So if you have any questions, you ever want to talk to us, I'm DM Benjy on Twitter.
I'm Caitlin RC on Twitter.
You can email us at mediasilvercrow@gmail.com.
Yeah, that's the email.
Yeah. Hit us up on Tumblr, Silvercrow Media. I'd say
Twitter's Silvercrow Inc., isn't it?
Yeah, at Silvercrow Inc. INC.
YMCA.
But that might be because we don't always run that, so
the Twitter.
Yeah.
I have it on my phone,
yeah.
So I always get the notifications.
But yeah, just find a way. If you want to talk to us, we'd love to talk to you about writing.
If you have comments and things, put them in the comments. I know, madness, because if we get another 5 or something, we'll do another short one of these.
Yeah.
Like, these won't be as long as the regular podcasts, because it's mostly Q&A, because writing is a very personal experience.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, if you have something, ask and we'll answer it. Whether we answer it in short and then develop on it in a video or not.
And, this might turn into a podcast series of just us talking about things that the other podcasts don't cover. So just like a miscellaneous podcast.
Miscellaneous.
So if there's anything that you want to hear us talk about, not necessarily mean Caitlin, if there's stuff that you want to hear Silvercrow talk about.
We should call this the trash pile. There's all the things we didn't talk about in the actual ones.
So if there's anything you want to hear us talk about that isn't covered by our other podcasts,
ask.
Yeah, just ask. And, we might say no because it's too personal, or we just don't know, and
we don't have time,
or we just don't really want to touch on the issue. But, there's no harm in asking, guys, and we'd love to hear from you.
Now be gone and go write things, and don't come back until you've written a sentence.
Yeah,
I say a sentence because
don't-
otherwise they
don't
might
come
never
back
come
until-
back.
Don't come back until your novel's published.
No, we're gonna lose our audience.
Okay, thanks for listening and good writing.